Welcome back on Diamond. Today I want to propose you a video about the review about the rules in the FleshEater Courts Battetome limited edition released in December 2023 by the Games Workshop. So now we go to see about the rules for the match play for this Battetome. Then we can start with the battle traits. The first one that we see, it's one of the most important, and it's the general one, that it's the Grand Courts, that we see also in the previous Battletome. So, you can pick one of the following subfaction for your army. All the FleshEater Courts units in your army gain the keyword of the engine abilities for that subfaction. If a unit has already a different subfaction keyword on its war scroll, it cannot gain another one. This does not preclude anyway you from including the units in your army, but you cannot use the engine's abilities for its subfaction. So the four that we have are the same that we have seen previously in the other Battletons, so are the Morgant, the Hollow the Blitterskin, and the Gristlegore. One thing to remember about this is that we see them lately more detailed, but it's changing in a really important way, and this that now the command traits and the artifacts are general, so you can take for every of the Grand Courts the same and are not associated to the specific Grand Court. So it's a really big change. So it means that you can personalize much more the way that you can gain, so that you can have a certain command trait and an artifact and have a specific Grand Courts be separate. So it's really quite intriguing in such a way. Then we have the classic battle trait that it's Deathless Courtier, that it's friendly FleshEater Courts unit as a word of 6+. So it's applied to everyone, and it's quite welcome because it's common to all the armies about the death. So it's perfectly good. Then we have something completely new, but one of the most important battle traits that you have to remember, and it's about the noble deeds. So this is a way to amplify the maybe to control the effects of the FleshEater Courts army. So each time a friendly FleshEater Courts hero successfully casts a spell that is not unbound, give one noble deed point to that hero. Remember that these are applied to the heroes specifically. Each time a prayer chanted by a friendly FleshEater Courts hero is answered, give one noble deed point to that hero. Each time a friendly FleshEater Courts hero fight, after all of its attack has been resolved, give that hero a number of noble deed points equal to the number of wounds and or mortal wounds caused by that hero in that phase that were allocated to enemy units. But you have to pay attention. Do not count wounds and or mortal wounds caused by that hero's mount. So it means that count only the hero itself, not the mount of it. So pay attention about such a day because it's really quite important. But it's also a way to replenish quite fast, because we can see then that the main rule is that each FleshEater Courts hero can have a maximum of 6 noble deed points at any one time. It cannot be given anymore until the number of noble deed points it has is reduced to less than 6. So you have to remember that there is quite such a limit. They are quite easy, as we can see, to gain, and there will be other ways to improve even more the amount that you can gain. And you have anyway a lot of ways to spend, so you have to pay attention about such one, because it's really the main rule that you have to think. And so prepare some dice for each of your heroes, that it means that you are able to sign how many the noble deed points will have been gained from these heroes themselves. And then we have Feeding Frenzy. This it's a completely changed compared to the previous Battetome Feeding Frenzy, but it has really a great effect. But you have to pay attention because it's nice as effect, but it's associated completely to the noble deed that we've seen before. So we add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly FleshEater Courts units where there are wholly within the range of any friendly heroes that have 6 noble deed points. So you have to pay attention that are only melee weapons and wholly within the range of friendly heroes. Remember that this applies to the heroes themselves too, but these they have to have 6 noble deed points, so the maximum available for that hero. So you have to pay attention about, because it means that to apply such one, you have to have one hero that is at the maximum of its noble deed. So eventually it doesn't have to use them to be able to apply to those wholly within 12-inch units always such feeding frenzy. Otherwise, you'll not be able to apply such, I can say, nice effect. And then have another important way to use the noble deed points is the Master Guard. So at the end of your movement phase, each friendly courtier can spend one of their noble deed points to return one slain model to a friendly serfs unit. Remember, serfs, it's a keyword, so apply not only to the goals unit that is within 10 inch of them, within, not wholly at least, or 2 of their noble deed points to return one slay model to a friendly knight unit that is within 10 inch of them, again within and not wholly within, so it's really quite good this way. You can use this ability multiple times each turn as long as the required noble deed points are available. So this is a way that you have to accumulate a lot, and eventually you can replenish quite a lot of things, because you replenish models, not wounds, models. Anyway, it's likely not the only way to replenish the units. Still, it's really quite an important one to remember, because you can save quite a lot and really create a lot of pressure on your opponent, because you can recalling back the models in a unit that he killed, so really quite amusing. And then we have Summon Lawyer Subject. This is really quite crazy and perfect combined with the Master Guard. So at the end of your movement phase, each friendly Abhorrant can spend 6 of their noble deed points to summon Lawyer Subject. If they do so, pick one friendly Serfs or Knight unit that has been destroyed and add a new replacement unit identical to that unit to your army with half of the models from the unit that was destroyed rounding up. Replacement units must be set up wholly within 6 inch of the edge of the battlefield and more than 9 inch from all enemy units. Each destroyed unit can only be replaced once. And pay attention about such. Replacement unit cannot themselves be replaced. Okay. Remaining models which are not set up as part of the replacement unit count as having been slain and can be returned to the replacement unit using the Master Guard ability or Rally Command ability. So it means that you can combine perfectly in the way to use first this Summon Lawyer Subject that is with the Abhorrant, and then use a Courtier to use the Master Guard, so to replenish such unit eventually. Really quite crazy and really quite amazing one. This is a way to really force the opponent in quite a lot of way. Obviously, you have to pay attention because you have to have the Abhorrant with 6 noble deed points to be able to use this, and you have to have a unit of Knight or Serf destroyed. So it's a replenishment that you can combine, but first you have to have some things to note. But still, this is really quite an amazing one. And I've had the Courts of Delusion that change quite a lot the way that they play with, but they are really quite amazing. So in the first battle round, after the player has received the starting command point, but before the start of the first turn, you can pick one of them of the following delusion that we have 5 to choose from to apply during the battle. We have the Royal Hunt, add 1 to the wound roll for attacks made by the friendly FleshEater Courts unit that target a monster. This is quite amazing if you think about going against armies with a lot of monsters, or for example something like the Behemoths, so it's really quite amazing. Then we have Crusading Army that will add 1 to the run and charge rolls for friendly FleshEater Courts units, and if you think that you can combine this with the music of the units, it can be really quite intriguing. Then we have Defenders of the Realm that add 1 to the save roll for friendly FleshEater Courts unit while there are contesting an object to control. So this is really an object to control way, but it can be really quite good with a lot of different scenarios. The Grand Tournament add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by friendly FleshEater Courts heroes that are not a general if they made a charge move in the same turn. So nice, but remember that it applies not general and only to heroes that made a charge. So a bit limiting, but it can be really quite nice to have this bonus of hit rolls, so it can be compensated. Then we have the Feast Day. The Feeding Frenzy ability applies to the friendly FleshEater Courts unit while there are wholly within 12 inch of any friendly heroes that have 4 or more numbered hit points instead of 6 numbered hit points. So it means that you can gain a lot of more flexibility, because it means that you can again reach the 6, but to keep the Feeding Frenzy you can use 1, 2 numbered hit points without any other problems, and so replenish and so on the units. It's really quite intriguing in such a way, because it allows you to have a better control of the Feeding Frenzy and so the bonus of the attacks. So it can be really quite amazing one. All of these are quite nice as Delusions. It's up to you decide. Moreover, because you can choose based on what it's the opponent deploying, because it's after the deployment but before the start of the battle. So it's really quite intriguing, because you can really personalize a lot and decide what is best for the situation you are in. So quite nice. And then we have Delusions of Grandeus, that it's related about the heroic actions. So at the start of the hero phase, you can carry out a heroic action from the table below with a friendly FleshEater Courts hero instead of any other heroic action you can carry out with that hero. So we have Rousing Oration. Pick one friendly FleshEater Courts hero and roll a dice for each other FleshEater Courts unit wholly within 12 inch of that hero. For each 5+, give 1 numbered hit points to that hero. So it's really a good way to make that a hero can try even to maximize eventually its own numbered hit points from the beginning, or replenish them quite fast. It's really quite intriguing. The other one is Chant of the Blood. Pick one friendly FleshEater Courts hero and roll a dice. On a 3+, you can make a d6 move with that hero, but it must finish that move more than 3 inch from all other enemy units and close to an enemy unit that has any wound allocated to it. Here it's really quite important, because it's a way to try to control the objective or to approach to the enemies. Here you have to pay attention which one is the one that can make, and moreover you have to pay attention because it specifies that you have to make that you approach the enemy, but you have to prefer the one that has any wound allocated. So you have to really pay attention about how you to control about this, and it can be quite intriguing. Anyway, you can have, for example, because it's made in the hero phase, use this to move faster with a d6 move, that it's a way to approach, and then go otherwise with the movement. So it's not so really must have, but sincerely it's an additional moment that can be really quite intriguing, moreover because it can apply to units that have yet a fast movement available. So it's really quite intriguing to have a lot of different options to take note, because you can have quite a lot of faster way to approach your objectives. And then have Undead Monstruosities that are related about the monstrous rampages for the Royal Tarrogest and Royal Zombies that are alternatives to the classical ones. So we have two of these. We have Delectable Appetizers. So pick one enemy unit that has a wound characteristic of 2 or less. Remember that there is such limit. And is within 3 inch of this unit, and roll a dice. On a 3+, that enemy unit suffer D3 mortal wounds. Then for each mortal wound that was caused to that enemy unit and not negated, this unit heal 1 wound. You could think that you can heal a maximum on a 3+ to a maximum of 3 wounds, but still you make damages and heal yourself, and combine, for example, with the heroes on Royal Tarrogest or Royal Zombie Dragon that can be healed even more. It can be really quite intriguing because it can preserve you quite a lot. Then we have Blood Curdle Chic. So pick one enemy unit within 3 inch of this unit and roll a dice. On a 3+, subtract 2 from the bravery characteristic of that enemy unit until the end of the turn. This is really quite intriguing because you have to remember that you have the battle shock test, You have other abilities that could be related about the discipline, the bravery, so it can be really quite amazing one. This is something that it's better to remember, because you can combine and gain quite a lot of more losses for your opponent, so nice. And I've had the common traits, and here I want to remind you that these are independent from the subfaction instead of before that were linked, so you can choose freely. We have the royalty and nobility, one to choose from. We start from the Abhorrant one, and we have three to choose from these. We have shadowy obfuscation. This genre is not visible to enemy models that are more than 12 inches away from them. This it's really quite useful. Think about, and we'll see later, the grand strategy that make you having a hero garrisoning a channel throne. In such a way, with this, you are more free of thoughts, because you don't have the problem about having the model garrisoning being targeted, and you can make the grand strategy more easily. So it can be a way. Or otherwise, you can think about making a sort of ambushing, because you can have an Abhorrant or zombie dragons or on Tarogest, and make that it can side the opponent, and so not being targeted from the enemies, and using its superior movement to be ambushing them. So it can be really quite useful, or to keep some object or so on. So quite nice in such a way. Then we have Feverish Scholar that add 1 to the casting roll, dispelling roll, and unbinding rolls for this general. If this general has 6 noble deed points, add 2 to casting rolls, dispelling rolls, and unbinding rolls for this general instead of 1. This it's quite intriguing. Moreover, if you think to keep a model like this, to keep 6 noble deeds always available, to keep the feeding frenzy, because in such a way you are able to have a double bonus, because you need to keep to have the feeding frenzy 6 noble deed points. With this you have also another bonus applied, so it can be a good way to, I can say, sacrifice the model in the way that it has always 6 noble deed points and doesn't use this, or if it does use it, immediately replenish them. So it can be really quite intriguing. They have Master of Menageries. When using the Summon Loyal subject battle trait, you can pick one friendly FleshEater Courts monster that is not a hero and that has been destroyed, instead of a unit of serfs or knight. Set up a replacement unit as described in the battle trait and allocate 6 wound to that replacement monster that cannot be negated. This it's quite useful to make come back a model like a monster of Terrorghast or Dragon Zombie, so it can be really quite nice. Moreover, remember that you can heal then again with other options, so you can eventually replenish also the wounds and make that the efforts that the opponent made to kill such big amount of wounds and really heavy damage you bringer like these monsters on the battlefield again. So I think that these are really quite intriguing, and there are not one that is really the best. It's up to the strategy that you want to use about using an Abhorrant like your general. And I have the nobility with the courtiers, the command traits, and so we have again 3 to choose from. We have stronger in madness, so add 2 to this general wound characteristic, while this general has 6 noble deed points. They have a ward of 5+. This it's not bad, because you have anyway 2 wounds that are always welcome, and you can gain from having the 6 noble deed points a save ward of 5+, and still keeping the feeding frenzy active. So it's not bad, but maybe it's not my first choices. Then we have Cruel Taskmaster. If this general use the Master Guard ability to return models to a unit, reduce the number deed point cost for each return model by 1, or if the cost was already 1, you can bring back 1 additional model instead. This it's crazy if you think about, because it means that with 1 noble deed point you can make come back 2 serfs, or with 2 anyway you can make come back 2 knights. So it means that if you think about, if you combine this with the Court of Delusion, the feast day that allow you to have a feeding frenzy of 4 instead of 6, you can replenish it, make that you can still keeping the feeding frenzy active and replenish quite a lot of amount of models about the serfs or the knights. Or eventually think about that you can have a unit of knights of 6, even if you lost 4 of them, you can make come back them immediately with 4, even 5 noble deed points are able to make replenished almost completely a unit of knights. So it's really quite crazy, this one, and it's, I think, my favorite about. Then we have Savage Beyond Reasons. If the modified hit roll for an attack made with a melee weapon by this general is 6, that attack score 2 hits on the target instead of 1. If this general has 6 noble points, that attack score 3 hits on the target instead of 2. This, I think that it's the perfect one for the Vargulf, because it's a hero, it's a courtier, and with this you can use the amount of attacks that it has, even improving them, because you have quite a lot of attacks. You can use the 6, and using the noble points you can even multiply even more. So I think that it's quite specific, this one, eventually. Between these ores, I sincerely prefer the Courtier Mask, and I think that it's even better than the one about the Abhorrant, but are two different concepts, because are about if you want to be offensive, defensive, or styling. So it's something that you can think about. Still, it's a really good thing to take note eventually. And then had the artifacts again. We had the one related about the royal treasury, so the Abhorrant, and the noble heirloom, so related about the courtier. Again, I want to remind you that are separate from the subfaction, so you can use them freely. So we can go to see about the Abhorrant ones. We have 3 to choose from. We have the Grim Gallant that subtract 1 from bravery characteristic of enemy unit while they are within 9 inches of the bearer. Sincerely, this is perfect associated with the Dragon Zombie, the Abhorrant on Dragon Zombie, because you have to remember that you have eventually the Monstrous Rampage that make you have that opponent gain another malus of 2 to the bravery, and you have then the Dragon Zombie that make that eventually you have the option about the Terror. So we have that the opponent will not be able to receive the Inspiring Presence command while they are within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability. So in this case, I think that it's perfect combined with this, or eventually you can associate to a tarot guest, because giving a malus when you breath, it's not bad at all. So it can be quite nice in both the ways, but still I prefer eventually about an Abhorrant that it's mounted on the Zombie Dragon or on the tarot guest. We have then the Blood River Chalice that once per battle in the hero phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do so, heal up 2d3 wounds allocated to the bearer. Sincerely, again, I think that it's perfect suited with the mounted versions of the Abhorrants, because you can yet make gain back wounds, and with this, okay, it's only once, but it's a way to make them replenish even more, so it's a way to preserve eventually. And eventually, if you want to make the Abhorrant your general, could be a great choice, but I remember you, it's up to you, because it's once per battle, so you have to pay attention about when to use these. Then you have Earth of the Gargant. Once per battle, at the start of the combat phase, the bearer can use this artifact. If they do so, add 1 to the attack characteristic of the melee weapons used by the bearer and their mount in that phase. So it's not bad, because it's a way to amplify also the attack of the mounts. In this way, you can gain quite a lot more attacks, so it's really something that it's one-shot one, because once per battle, but at the same time can give you quite a lot of amount of things. So it's not bad. You can really increase your way to make damages, but pay attention, because it's once per battle, so you have really to understand if it's worth the use about this, or you can gain something similar without using the artifact and use something else for other models. It's up to you to decide, but it can be useful. Then we go to see about the noble heirloom, so the courtier artifacts. We have 3 to choose from. We have Medal of Madness. Once per battle, the bearer can use a command without a command point being spent, and they are treated as if they were the general when they do so. So this is perfect to use it on a model that it's not a general, obviously, because otherwise you lose the real bonus that it's also the increased range to use the command point, so not bad, but still once per battle, so maybe it's not my first choices. Then we had the Flayed Pennant. You can reroll charge rolls for friendly FleshEater Courts unit while there are wholly within 12 inches of this bearer. Sincerely, this is something that it's a must-have, because even before everything else, this is something that you have to take, because being able to reroll the charge rolls for free, even only because the range, it's the must. So this for sure will be always present inside your army, because it's something that you have to take. Then we have the channel investments, the beer gain, the priest keyword. It's nice always, other than when you play the blister skin subversion, because that one make you have the model the heroes having the priest keyword. So this set for the blister skin can be really quite nice, because it's a way to make a model being a priest, so have other options to apply. And we see that also the chants are not bad. So if you're not going to use the priests inside the army that are really yet priests or the blister skin, this it's a good choice eventually to have a better version to make more options available. So quite nice. Then we can go to see about the spells related about the FleshEater Courts with the Lore of Madness. Sincerely, I'm a bit disappointed because there are only 3 spells, and sincerely, I would have hoped that there will be 6 ones as all the spell lores. Still, remember that each of the ones that are wizard has its own spells, so it's not so bad. We have 3 available of the spells. We have Miasmal Shroud, is a spell that has a casting value of 6 and a range of 18 inch. If successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the caster and roll 6 dice. If 2 or more dice share the same value, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If 3 or more dice share the same value, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with that unit until the next hero phase, in addition to the previous effect. If 4 or more dice share the same value, subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made by that unit until your next hero phase, in addition to the previous effect. So not bad, because technically if you gain 4 dice that are the same, you are able to make so that the opponent has -1 to hit roll and wound roll, and also 1 mortal wound, not bad. But it's also interesting that if the casting roll was 10 or more, roll 8 dice instead of 6, so amplifying quite a lot the possibility that are the same dice available, so nice. Each effect can only be triggered once, even if there are more than one set of dice with the same value, so not a problem. Anyway, it's not bad at all. Also because it's quite easy to cast, because it's 6 and the range is 18, so not bad. Then we have the ranged transformation, that is a spell with a casting value of 6 and the range of 24 inch. It's actually cast, pick one friendly FleshEater Courts unit wholly within range and visible to the cast that has a wound characteristic of 7 or less. Until then, your next hero phase, add 2 to that unit's move characteristic and add 1 to the wound rolls for attack made by that unit. If the casting roll was 10 or more, you can pick up to 3 different friendly units to be affected by the spell instead of 1. So not bad, because in a way you can apply to all the basic unit about, other than the monsters. So it's something that it's a way to amplify the movement and also the ability to wound. Sincerely, this it's quite good, and the possibility about having 3 units about it's even more welcome. Then we have Crimson Rituals, that is a spell that has a casting value of 6 and a range of 18 inch. Is successfully cast, pick one enemy unit within range of the caster and a friendly FleshEater Courts unit that has a wound characteristic of 1, so only the surf practically, and is within 6 inch of that enemy unit. That enemy unit suffered D3 mortal wounds. Then, for each mortal wound that was caused to the enemy unit and not negated, you can return 1 slain model to the friendly unit. If the casting roll was 10 or more, the enemy unit suffered 2 D3 mortal wounds instead of D3 mortal wounds. So it's a good way. The real problem is that it's only with the serfs, because they are the ones that has 1 wound characteristic of 1. So it's really quite intriguing about this, because it's a way to replenish them even if you don't use nobody points or so on them, and still make damage to the opponent. So quite balanced, not excessive with the amount of mortal wound that can be inflicted, but still quite nice. And then we go to see about the priest with the prayers. So we had the rites of delusion. About this, I want to remember you that one of the basic prayers, it uses its bless, because it will give you a 6 plus word, but you have Death's minion, so you have yet that word. So not worry about this and see really attentively about these prayers. Have bless this meal, so is a prayer that has a answer value of 3 and a range of 18 inch. If answered, pick one enemy unit within range that is visible to the chanter. Each time a model from that enemy unit is slain, you can heal up one wound allocated to one friendly FleshEater Courts unit within 6 inch of that enemy unit. Remember that doesn't mind the source, it's only that the models are slain, and you can replenish every unit, but only heal. Remember about this, so you can't make models come back, but you can heal, for example, the monsters, so the tarot guests, the zombie dragons, the mounted ones, so it's really, or the heroes themselves, so it's really quite useful about. They have the Summer King's Favor, that is a player that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 18 inch. If answered, pick one friendly FleshEater Courts hero, remember only hero, wholly within range and visible to the chanter until your next hero phase. That hero gain one additional nobility points each time they slain a model. So this it's quite good, because it's maybe if you send a model against a hero against an elite unit, so you are sure to kill, but you're not going to replenish quite fast the nobility points. This could be a way, so not bad, or to make it gain faster. So it's always nice. This is something that it can be quite intriguing. Then well, Channel Conviction is a player that has an answer value of 3 and a range of 18 inch. If answered, pick one friendly FleshEater Courts wholly within range and visible to the chanter. That unit has a vote of 5 plus until your next hero phase. This goes to substitute the normal plus, because you have yet, so it's not bad, and it could be quite intriguing, because in a way it's a way to preserve more models. Moreover, because it's applied to an entire FleshEater Courts unit, not only hero, not specified, so it can be quite a good saving about, and can also change in some way the flow of the battlefield. So it's something that I really think to take note about. All these are quite amazing, so think about how many and which ones are the models that you want to make them priest. And Cecily, I suggest you to have at least one priest model in your army, so that you can gain some intriguing bonuses. I think that these are intriguing, so it's up to you to decide, but they're really quite nice. Now we have the mount traits. We have 3 for each of the Abhorrant King on Tarot Guest and on Dragon Zombie. We go to see the first ones about the Dragon Zombie. So we have Baleful Breath that improve the rand characteristic of this unit pestilential breath by 1, so it equals to 2. Not bad at all. We have Death from the Skies, that it's a way to make it in reserve and arrive at the end of the first movement phase, and you must set up this more than an inch from all enemy units. This is still quite intriguing. Moreover, that you have to think that you had the Delusion that give you also a bonus to the run and charge and go to the charge. This means that it's easier to charge directly in the first turn in the side of the opponent, so it can be really quite intriguing, or to conquer objective and so on. So it's really quite intriguing strategically talking. And then we have Venerated Zombie Dragon that add 1 to hit rolls for friendly FleshEater Courts monsters whether are wholly within 12 inch of this unit. This is perfect if you go to see about a Grisgor army, because you have a lot of monsters eventually inside, but it's also if you go to see about this way that are with the monster that goes together, it's nice. Moreover, you have to think that him itself it's wholly within 12 inch of itself, so it means that it gain this hit rolls improvement, so nice. Then we go to see about the Royal Target ones. Have Gruesome Bite that add 1 to the attack characteristics of this unit fanged move, that it's always nice. Horrible Resilient that make that this unit Royal Blood ability heal up to 2d3 wounds instead of up to d3. And here, Sicily, if I go to play with Target, here it's one of the must-have. For sure, it's something that make you regain wounds quite easy and faster. So this it's sure to think about. Then we have Murkvev Sweetness. This unit can retreat and still charge later in this turn. This it's a good way because it make you that you can detach from an enemy that you don't want to battle against, or that you want to move otherwise, or free yourself in the way that you can go otherwise to conquer objective or destroy an unit on the objective or so on. So there are a lot of ways that you can use this. Sincerely, I think that you can choose each one that you want about these mount traits and are still nice, but you have in mind what you want to do from the beginning. So pay a bit of attention if you want to have something more aggressive, something more strategic, something more resilient. It's always nice. And I've had the succession of the Grand Courts. Here we had the same four that we see in the previous Battetome, but as different effects. So we had Morgant with the Morgant Kingdoms that give you a nobody points to each friendly Morgant FleshEater Courts hero at the end of the turn if that hero is contesting an objective. And sincerely, it's quite nice if you remember that there is a delusion that give you, if you are contesting objective, also a +1 to save. So this is perfect as combination. We had then the Bitter Skin that make Pious Nobility. Friendly Abhorrant gain the Priest keyword, but they cannot cast spell and chant prayers in the same hero phase. Sincerely, this it's not bad at all. Remember that, okay, we had the artifact about the Courtier that make a priest. But sincerely, this, if you're going to play with the Blitzskin, I think that you're going to play with a lot of Abhorrants so that you can gain quite a lot of bonuses about. So it's something that I think about, because having such keyword priest, it's not bad. And about choosing about chanting or casting spells, it's not a problem because technically you have a lot of Abhorrant available. Anyway, it's nice. But remember that you have to choose how to use such option. Had then the Hollow Moon that has Grizzly Cavaliers. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly Hollow Moon Knights units that have made a charge move in the same turn. This ability has not effect on attack made by the mounts. Here you have to remember that there are the knights that are the Crypt Horror, the Crypt Fires, but also the new ones, so the Ghosts on the Beast. So not bad at all. Okay, you don't count the mounts, but you can create a really elite army that can make quite a lot of damages when it charges, so not bad. Had then the Giskelgor that has Savage Strike. At the start of your combat phase, you can pick one friendly Giskelgor monster on the battlefield. The Strike First effect applies to that monster until the end of the phase. This, okay, only one, but it's amazing because remember that, okay, your combat phase, not the opponent one, but still, for sure, you know that one go first. So even if you are not charged, can be a really good way to make it combat. So can be quite nice. Obviously, it's the Griskelgore, so it's associated to the monsters. So all of these are nice. Sincerely, it's up to you decide which one you prefer, because you can improve quite a lot the ways that you can play with one or the other one. Think about what you want, because these are simply based on what you need. Okay, the Griskelgore, it's the one that you have to pay attention about the monsters, the Hollow Moon about the knights, but generally they are all about what you want, because also the Blister Skin, if you want to use some Abhorrant and also the Courtier, you can do. Simply you gain another option about the Abhorrant. So all amazing. Then we can see about the grand strategies specific for the FleshEater Courts. Here we have 3 available. We have Legendary Exploits. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are at least 3 friendly FleshEater Courts heroes on the battlefield that each have 6 noble deed points. It can be seem simply, but it means that you have at least 3 heroes that are preserved and have 6 noble deed points. Here, eventually, I suggest you to remember about the heroic actions so that you can try to replenish them if used to make them faster. Then expand the kingdom. When the battle ends, you complete this strategy if a friendly Abhorrant is wholly within enemy territory and the enemy general is not wholly within the enemy territory. So eventually it's completely, so it's in your side, or better, it's killed. So it's not difficult because bring the Abhorrant in the opponent side, it's quite easy, but you have to pay attention about the general, opponent general. Then you have defend the throne. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if a friendly channel throne is on the battlefield. It is garrisoned by a friendly FleshEater Courts hero, and there are no enemy units within 6 inches of it. So here, technically, it's not so difficult. You have the option about having the command trait for the Abhorrant that could be useful because it prevents him from being seen from enemy units other than within 12 inches. So if they are more than 12 inches longer than the model, it's quite nice. So eventually think about this, and really all of them can be really quite done, but it's up to you decide which one you prefer, because having the 3 FleshEater Courts could be nice, but you have to have enough of them. About the expanded kingdom, you have simply to control the position of the opponent general, and about this you have to make that the opponent are not able to arrive close to it. So it's nice, but you have to pay a bit of attention about. And I've had the battle tactics specific for the FleshEater Courts. We have 6 of them to choose from. We had Screamed to Death. Pick 1 enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed this turn by an attack made with a missile weapon used by a friendly Crypt Flyers unit, Crypt Infernal Courtier, or Royal Targus. So about this, it's not so difficult, but you have to calibrate the timing, because you have to make that the opponent unit is debilitated, so that it's wounded and so on, and then finished with the missile weapons. About the Targus, if you want to use, I suggest you eventually to keep the things that make you decrease the bravery of the opponent, so that you can make this breath even more intriguing. Anyway, it's simply related about the amount of massive releasing of shooting that you can have. So more unit you have about these units, easier it's to do. Obviously, if you don't have any of these, it's not something that you can plan about. Then have Valiant Slaying. Pick 1 enemy monster on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed this turn by an attack made by a friendly Abhorrant. Here it's not so difficult because the Abhorrant make quite a lot of intriguing attacks, and the Abhorrant are also the ones that are mounted on Dragon Zombie and Tarogast. So it's not so difficult to make because they have the keyword Abhorrant. Then have Overrun. You complete this battle tactic if every enemy unit on the battlefield is within 3 inches of a friendly FleshEater Courts unit at the end of the turn. This it's simply about engaged enemies, so you have to pay attention about the amount of units that your opponent and engage them. It's not so easy because maybe you don't want to do, but if you want to make this, it's not so difficult anyway, because you have fast enough to reach every unit on the battlefield and you can engage them. So it's only up if it's worth to do. Then Glorious Fist. You complete this battle tactic if every friendly unit on the battlefield is wholly within 12 inches of a friendly FleshEater Courts hero that has 6 nobility points at the end of the turn. So here it's not so difficult to do because mainly you are going to do this to approach the enemy to use Feeding Frenzy. So it's possible without any problem. The real problem is to have this amount of models with 6 nobility points on. But I think that if you're going to approach to charge and make quite a lot of damage the next turn, this can be really quite easy to do. Then have Lance Formation. You complete this battle tactic if 2 or more friendly Knight units made a charge move this turn, and the charge roll for each of those units was 7 or more. Here is simply related about your luck with the dice. Sincerely, I think that you need about 4-5 units to charge, obviously with the keyword Knights, in the same turn to be able to reach such one. Obviously, you can even need only 2 if you are lucky enough, but you have to think about that it's not so immediate to reach this amount of roll. So about the medium, I think that it's really best to think about 4-5 units at least to make charge. So you have to pay attention when you do this, or eventually risk about. You have the Tides of Chivalry. Pick one objective on the battlefield that your opponent controls. You complete this battle tactic if you control that objective and at the end of your turn. And it is contested by at least one friendly Serf model, one friendly Knight model, and one friendly Courtier model. Here, essentially, it's not so difficult about the amount of units, but they have to be all there. So you have to pay attention about such detail, because it means that eventually you have to charge a unit with a lot of massive amount of units and try to completely evaporate the unit that the opponent unit that it's controlling that objective. So you have to choose really wisely which one of those objective and units of the opponent you are going to wipe out, because it's really something that you have to really choose carefully, because it means that you are going to move quite a lot of points only to make such battle tactics, so you have to pay a bit of attention. And then we can start with the units, and we start with Nagash. We can say that it's quite solid as character. It costs a lot, but it's quite solid. It's 18 wounds with a save of 3+ without any improvement. It's really amazing as it is. The wounds table, it's really quite impressive, so much that if it's clean, it can cast 8 spells. Obviously, it's a wizard with the number of spells that this unit can attempt to cast in your hero phase is determined using the 9 books of Nagash ability, and this unit can attempt to unbind any number of spells if the enemy hero phase any number of spells, so it doesn't have a limit. If this unit is part of an 8-count FleshEater Courts or Reaper or Soulblight Graveyard army, it knows all the spells for the spell lore that the faction has abilities in addition to the other spells it knows. So it's not all technically. You can really make a choose about what you can cast. Obviously played in that army, not also the armies that it's not playing it. It's a War Master, so this unit can be included in an account of FleshEater Courts or Reaper, also Blood Graveyard army, and if it is treated as a general, even if it is not a model pick to be the army's general. It's obvious, it's Nagash, it's command all. In addition, you can still use the army's abilities even if this unit is not from the army's faction. However, this unit does not benefit from them, so it's quite nice. It has fly. It has a companion that this unit is accompanied by all spirits armed with spectral claws and dagger. That is the spirit that you see in the mod itself. It has Alaknash, the Staff of Power, that add 3 to casting and bind and dispel rolls for this unit. Always, it doesn't change based on the wound that is suffered. Quite amazing. It has Invocation of Nagash at the start of your hero phase. For each friendly summonable Mordant or Osseb Reaper unit wholly within range of this unit, you can either heal up to 3 wounds allocated to that unit, or if no wounds has been allocated to that unit, you can return a number of slain model to it that has a combined wound characteristic of 3 or less. The range is represented in the schedule up here, so it's quite awesome. Then we have Morcane, friendly death unit wholly within 12 inch of this unit has a word save of 5+. Not so good, not bad. Then we have Supreme Lord of the Undead. At the start of your hero phase, you can pick up one friendly summonable Mordant or Ossiakable Reaper unit with a wound characteristic of 3 or less that has been destroyed and on roll and dice. On a 3+, a new replacement unit with half of the model from that unit that was destroyed, rounded up, is added to your army. The replacement unit must be set up wholly within 12 inch of this unit and more than 9 inch from all enemy units. Units set up in this way cannot move in the following moving phase. Each extra unit can only be replaced one replacement, and unit cannot themselves be replaced. but it means that in a way you can try eventually to charge. So it's really quite amazing because it can keep one unit and make it come back. So any unit on free plus, it's amazing this one because wow, it's really something amazing. And then we had the 9 books of Nagash. The number of spell, as I said, that content is shown up, but I can say that 8 spell is not bad. Hand of Dust is a spell that has a casting value of 8 and a range of 3. It starts to the cast, pick one enemy model within range and visible to the caster. Then take a dice and hide it in one of your hands or under one of the appropriate container and so on. If they pick the one holding the dice, the spell has no effect. If they pick the empty hand or container, the enemy model is slain. So it has 50% of possibility to make. Sincerely, I don't like such thing. I prefer to roll a dice than to make such game, but it's a sort of classic about Nagash such spell. Then we have Soul Stealer, that is a spell that has casting value of 7 and a range of 24 inch. It starts to recast, pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the caster. That unit suffer D3 mortal wounds if the modified casting roll for this spell is 9 plus, and this spell is not bound. That unit suffer D6 mortal wound instead of D3. You can heal up to 1 wound that has been allocated to the caster for each mortal wound caused by this spell that is not negated. So it's really quite nice, but you have to have some consideration. The Hand of Dust, I don't think that it will be improved, for example, with the ability of Arcan. So here, I think that it will be soon released a fact about that it has the 3 inch, because to be within 3 inch, Nagash has to be in close combat. If you amplify such, it means that the Nagash technique could try to kill model like this without being in close combat. So I think that there will be such a limitation. So, and remember that about Soul Stealer, you can't heal if the opponent model is able to have a ward that prevent that wound. So pay attention about such. Still, Nagash, it's quite massive. I don't like to play Nagash as itself. I have painted and I made a video about Nagash because I love the model. I use a lot of time to be able to monetize and paint this model. It's wonderful. Still, I don't like to play on the table because, in my opinion, it's really too big. It's a divinity. I have to play with some narrative or some big games about Age of Sigmar to be able to really bring up such model on the battlefield. But obviously, it's my opinion about. And then have Shoran, Martyr of Delusion. Finally, we have such model. I was waiting for such model since decades ago, because I was thinking about using this with the Strigoi in the Warhammer Fantasy. So it's simply amazing. I love such model. I was thinking a bit different about the model itself, but it's amazing, really. It's wonderful. And the rules are too. It's a sort of dragon, okay. It's not having a breathing. It's not a mage, but it's a mage, but it's not so great as a mage. But more than everything, it has an amazing combat option. So it has 60 wounds, save of 4, movement of 10. It has a crazy amount of attacks, cause it has 3 attack of the shatter that do with a random 2 d3 plus 3 damages, and the monster claws and fangs are arriving to 10 attacks with a random 1 and 2 damage. It can really kill everything on the battlefield with this. It's a wizard anyway, so it can cast and buy 2 spells, even if it's not its best performance. It is Ballmaster, so if this unit is included in your army, it's treated as general, even if it is not a model picked to be the army general. And it's the Summer King, so it's the leader of all the FleshEater Courts, so it's perfectly understandable. We have Epicenter of Delusion. It's the main rules that you have to pay attention. If this unit is a part of a FleshEater Courts army, in your hero phase, you can pick one delusion from the Course of Delusion battle trait until your next hero phase. That delusion applied to friendly FleshEater Courts unit where there are wholly within the epicenter of delusion range. That, I want to remember, you can arrive to 30 inch, so not bad at all. And this, it's in addition to the delusion you picked at the start of the first turn. So it means that you can have one as base for all that you want to need, and one that you can adapt to what you need. For example, you want to make a run and charge, you want to have a feeding frenzy better, you can really choose. So it's a way to have two delusion active at the same time. We have seen in the Necron eventually something like similar. It's amazing. It's really something that it makes you desire to deploy this model on the battlefield, even because it's amazing, but also because this rule is an amazing advantage. They had the Carrion King, where this unit has 6 noble hit points. Friendly FleshEater Courts are affected by Defending Frenzy battle trait, while there are volley within 24 inch of this unit instead of 12 inch. So it's really quite amazing. Really, here you can think about combining this with the delusion of the battle frenzy, so you can have with 4 of the noble deed to be 24 inch, so it can be really quite craziness about this. You have short cage fragment. At the start of the combat phase, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of each enemy unit within 3 inch of this unit until the end of the battle. Remember, so at the start of the combat phase, subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of each enemy unit within 3 inch until the end of the battle. Then roll 2d6 for each enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit, so in close combat. If the result is higher than the bravery characteristic of that unit, the strike last effect applied to that unit until the end of the phase. Simply amazing, because, okay, the minus, it's a good way to make such effect, but think about combining this with the breath of the Screech of the Terrorghast. It's an amazing one. They had the King Chalice. This unit has a word of 5+, since it's okay, because it's the leader, it should be having a better word than everyone else. In addition, if your hero phase, you can heal up 2d3 wounds allocated to this unit. So not only it's really quite crazy in combat, but it's even resilient. Then have Glimpse of Delusion, that is a spell that has a casting value of 7 and a range of 18 inch. Is successfully cast, pick one enemy model within range and visible to the caster. Then pick one melee weapon that the enemy is armed with, and pick one other enemy unit within range of that weapon. So it means that has to be in the same unit or really quite close. That enemy model immediately make a combat attacks with that weapon targeting the other enemy units. So it means that they attack by themselves. It's crazy, this one. If applied to the right model, can make a disaster and made on the opponent itself. Wow, it's really simply amazing. And I like. As keyword, we have to note some things. First, it's Hollow Moon. So remember that the best is when you are playing with the Hollow Moon, obviously. And it's an Abhorrant. So remember also about such keyword eventually if you need something. So this is really something amazing. I love such mod, and the rules are not bad at all. Really, this is perfectly playable, and it will be really fun to see it on the battlefield. And I have a model that I simply love, that it's the Abhorrant Ghoul King on Royal Terrorghast. This it's a model that has not changed quite a lot, but still it's amazing. Remember that it has 16 wound, 4+ saving. It has an amount of attacks that it's not bad. And first of all, I want to make you see the Death Chic, because it has a range of 10 inch. And if you think about the ways to arrive from out of the battlefield, it means that usually you arrive more than an inch, but it is as a range of 10. So it means that you are able to arrive and still use such special attack. And this Death Chic, it's with one single attack, but it's special. So you do not use the attack sequence for an attack made with this unit Death Chic. Instead, roll a dice and add to the Death Chic the value in the table that we see. And if the total is higher than the target bravery characteristic, the target unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the difference between the bravery characteristic and the total. So remember that the maximum that you can arrive is 12. So it's better to make against units that has not a great bravery, to make a lot of one, or decrease the bravery of the opponent. So pay attention about such details, because they can be really quite important. Obviously, it has also an amazing amount of attacks in close combat. The gory talons and fangs are related about the Abhorrant Ghoul King, that it's riding it. It has anyway 4 attacks with range 1 and 2 damages, but what are interesting are the attacks of the Terrorghast. In fact, we have the move that has 3 attack, that has a range 2 and d6 damages, but this has a special one. If the modified hit roll for an attack made with these units thanks the move is 6, the target unit suffers 6 mortal wounds and the attack sequence and doesn't make a wound roll or save roll. So it means that with this we 6 are automatically 6 mortal wound. So really quite intriguing. It has also the skeleton talons that are the amount that can arrive to 7 attack with range 1 and 2 damages. So it's really crazy. It has also obviously the fly, because it's a fly mod. It is this mod a wizard, so you can cast 1 spell and combine 1 spell in the hero phase. And it's a mount, so the Royal Terrorghast it's armed with the Death Chic and so on. And remember that you can personalize this with the mount traits eventually. That could be really quite intriguing. And we talked it before, so I suggest you to go to see which one you prefer to put on this model. It has infested. If this unit is destroyed before it is removed from play, each enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit suffer D3 mortal wound. So even dying can be really quite obnoxious for the enemy. I love. It has Royal Blood. In your hero phase, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to the unit, so it can sustain itself a bit. Quite nice. And it has Ferocious Anger. That is a spell that has a casting value of 6 and a range of 12 inches, so quite short. It's actually cast. Pick 1 friendly Royal Terrorghast bully within the range. You can reroll hit rolls for attacks made with that unit among the foe until your next hero phase. This means that you can choose another one or itself, and being able to repeat such move attacks as we've seen with the effect that it has, it's really not bad, because it means that you can even more easily obtain the 6 to make the mortal wounds. This mod is simply amazing. It's one of my favorite and it's quite worth it. So it's something that we have really to appreciate because it's nice. And I've had the Abhorrant Ghoul King on Royal Terrorghast. This is a model that maybe it's even better than the Terrorghast. Even if I prefer the Terrorghast, I have to admit that this is crazy as option. So it has 16 wound, save of 4+, and it has a Pristillation Breath that it has a range of 12, so you can arrive from out of the battlefield and still be able to reach the enemy. The 6 attack, hit of 3, wound on 3, range 1, and 3 damage. So quite nice. But this, I suggest you to see about the mount trait, because it can be that or you make that this mod can arrive from out of the battlefield, or you can make that this breath is on rank 2, and it's not bad, or you can make that all the units within 12 inch of this mod, only within 12 inch of these models that are monsters of the FleshEater Courts, gain a +1 to hit that it's applied to both the shooting and the melee. So it means that the Ghoul King will attack with 4 attacks that would hit on the 2+, rank 1, 2 damage. The Smoking Move will be on a 3+ with 3 attacks with rank 3 and 3 damages. And it can arrive to 7 attacks with a 3 hit, 3 wound, 1 rend, and 2 damage. So it can make quite a lot of amazing amount of damages. It's really simply amazing about this. Then we have the part about the wizard that obviously it says the Abhorrant Ghoul King, so it can have 1 spell to cast and 1 spell to unbind. It has fly. Then it has the mount, obviously, because it's a Abhorrant Ghoul King on a mount. It has Royal Blood, so in your hero phase you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to this unit. It's good because it means that it's self-sufficient in some way. And it has Draconic Terror, so enemy units can receive the Inspiring Presence command while they are within 3 inch of any friendly units with this ability. If you think about this, it's really quite intriguing as one, because it means that you can charge a unit, combat it 1, and make that all the models that you kill risk to make that the opponent is not able to use the Inspiring Presence, so be vaporized. So quite nice. And we have a spell that is Monster Hunger, so it's a spell that has a casting value of 6 and range of 18 inch. It's actually cast friendly FleshEater Courts units monsters wholly within the range of the cast are filled with monster hunger until your next hero phase. A unit filled with monster hungers can run and still charge later in this turn. Pay attention because it doesn't say pick a unit, but all the units monsters of the FleshEater Courts. So it applies to itself and all the others. So you can make so, and this will be perfect for a Griskelgore army, make that this can make a sort of rampage of monsters that arrive against the enemy. It's really quite intriguing about such, so wonderful. And you have only to start with this wholly within, then you can separate and go. So quite nice. Moreover, if you think that you have also the delusion that add to the run and charge also some bonuses, it can be really quite intriguing about this. So it's really something that it's worth. At least one of such models I suggest you to use, eventually in combination with another Royal Tarot Guest or with the Born King on Tarot Guest or so on. So you can create a lot of important combination that make this model really quite awesome. And then have Grand Justice Gourmet. Here it's a unique model, so pay attention about this because you can have only one of such, and it's from the Hollow Moon. So pay attention about the Grand Court that you play with this. The model is simply amazing. I love such model that it's an Abhorrant kick with a wig made of intestines. It's fantastic. The book itself, it's wonderful. Really, it's a model that I would buy even if I don't play it, because it's something fantastic. Also under the foot there are the books. It's amazing. I love such miniature. It has 6 wound, save 4, and movement 6. It's as attack not so great because it has 4 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, and 1 d3 damage. It has Royal Blood because it's an Abhorrant, so in your hero phase you can heal up to d3 wounds allocated to this unit. Pronounce Judgment. In your hero phase, pick one of the following judgment of Pronounce. The same unit cannot be affected by more than one judgment at the same time. But seriously, I don't understand because it's a unique one, or the Juvu will bring other models with the same ability in the future, or you can't have more than one applied because you can have only one available. So okay, anyway, this Pronounced Judgment has 4 different options. Petty Transgression. Pick one enemy unit that is visible to this unit and roll a dice. On a 3+, add 1 to wound roll for attacks made by friendly FleshEater Courts unit that target that unit until the end of the turn. Dishonorable Conduct in battle. Pick one enemy unit that is visible to this unit and more than 3 inches from all friendly units. Pay attention about such detail. Roll a dice. On a 3+, friendly FleshEater Courts unit can charge even if they run earlier in the turn, as long as they finish the charge move within half inch of the enemy unit you picked. So it makes that, okay, you don't have the option about to make them run and charge, you make the opponent to be run and charged. See, so really quite amazing one. And we have Grievous Insult to the court. Pick one enemy unit that's visible to this unit and within 3 inches of all of a friendly Abhorrant. So you have to pay attention with such details. So it has to be yet in combat with an Abhorrant. And roll a dice. On a 3+, add 1 to hit roll for attacks made by a friendly FleshEater Courts unit that target that enemy unit until the end of the turn. So quite nice, this one. It's a way to improve the hit roll. And Regicide. Pick one enemy unit that is visible to this unit and has slain a flame Abhorrant, so you have to have lost an Abhorrant. Roll a dice. On a 3+ until the end of the turn, add 1 to the damage characteristic of weapons used by friendly FleshEater Courts unit for attacks that target that unit. So it has quite amazing one, and you have to note it doesn't have range. So till it's visible to such model, you can make such effect available. Okay, on a 3+, there are some limitation about the effect applied. Still, it's something amazing, really. It's a way to have a sort of other things that it's not dispellable, like having a sort of other things than the prayers for the priests and so on, and have another bonus. So quite nice. This it's a model that if you play the Hollow Moon, I would think about including, because it's really quite amazing. The model is fantastic and the rules are not bad at all. And now had the Abhorrant Gold Warden. Here we have a model that has been released with the setbox limited edition of the FleshEater Courts, but it's a model that is quite simple eventually. So we have a Abhorrant model with wings and keys in the hand, cause the Warden. Anyway, it's really quite nice as model, so I suggest you eventually. It has 7 wounds, save 4 plus, movement 12 inch. It has 5 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wounds, 1 rend, and 2 damages. About the 7 wounds, I want to remind you that it can garrison in the Carnal Throne eventually. So we have that it can fly, obviously it has the wings. It is a wizard that can attempt to cast 1 spell and unbind 1 spell. It has Royal Blood, as all the Abhorrant, so you can heal up to the 3 wounds allocated to this unit. And now you have to pay attention, because we have Royal Hunting Party. Instead of setting up this unit on the battlefield, you can place it on the side and say that it's in reserve. And pay attention, if you do so, when you would set up a friendly Crypt Flyers or Morgue Knights unit during the deployment, that unit can join this unit circling in the skies as a reserve unit. A maximum of 1 unit can join this unit. And here we have that at the end of your movement, you can set up this unit more than 9 inch from all enemy units. If you do so, set up the unit that has joined this unit, so the other one that you chosen, wholly within 9 inch of this unit and more than 9 inch from all enemy units. So this is quite intriguing, because the Crypt Flyers and the Morgue Knights will not be able to move in such a way, and in such a way you can move to conquer objective, move to side the opponent. Eventually remember that you have also the Delusion that add 1 to your charge, that can be really quite useful. And here you can combine with the Abhorrant Archregent, because this spell could be quite useful, but we'll see it a bit later. So it's really quite nice, this one, because it allows you really to be strategic. And then have Wind of Sheish. That is a spell that has casting value of 6 and a range of 9 inch. It's actually cast, pick 1 friendly FleshEater Courts unit that can fly, remember about this, and is wholly within range of it, and visible to the caster. Remove this unit and the unit you picked from the battlefield and set them again more than 9 inch from all enemy units and wholly within 9 inch of each other. Neither unit can move in the following movement phase. Here again, there is the Delusion that let you eventually make the movement so that you can charge better, so it's really quite nice. But here the problem is that you can't combine with the spell of the Abhorrant Archregent, because that one is limited to the one that made the arrive from the reserve in the movement phase. This instead it's made in the hero phase. But anyway, it's quite good, because it means that you can anyway relocate 2 units on the battlefield and go to conquer objects and so on. So it's really quite strategic, this one. It has a lot of potential as a tactical and strategical way. And I've had the Abhorrant Archangel, that it's maybe one of my favorite model in this army, that it's a model that should be having the wings, but it can't fly. It has 7 wounds, save 4 plus, movement 6 inch. So again, remember that having 7 wounds, it can be perfect suited for the Carnal Throne, and I eventually suggest it. It has 5 attacks, 3 plus to hit, 3 plus to wound, 1 rend, and 2 damage. It is a wield that can cast 2 spells in your hero phase and attempt to unbind 2 spells in the enemy hero phase. Being an Abhorrant, it has Royal Blood, so it can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to this unit. And now pay attention about these things. Countless Servant. At the start of your hero phase, you can return up to 3 models slain to a friendly serve unit, only one, that is within 18 inch of this unit. Or you can return 1 slain model to a friendly knight unit that is within 18 inch of this unit. And it is within for both. Remember that the ability using the noble hit points, it's about 10 inch. So this it's even bigger. And really, this put on the Carnal Throne could be really quite amazing to control it, gain the noble deeds, and hear quite a lot of options. But what I'm interested about, it's also the spell, because it's Carrion Call. It's a spell that has a casting value of 6. It's actually cast in the following movement phase. Friendly FleshEater Courts units that are set up at the end of your movement phase can immediately move this 6 inch. And this is really quite intriguing, because it means that you can use the Dragon Zombies, the Abhorrant Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon with the command trait that arrive in the movement phase. You can use the Abhorrant Gore Warden that we've seen before with the ability, not a spell, with the ability that can be moved. So you can arrive and then using this spell, you make that all the battlefield it's about. You have the option about being able to move the units arrived more than an inch, being able to come closer, even 1 inch it's enough, then eventually shooting and so on, and then charge. And remember that you have the delusion about the bonus to the charge. So minimum you can gain in such a way 2 inch. Okay, you had to cast effectively this spell, but the opponent will be surely keep one at least of hits the spell option to avoid such eventually, because this can be really quite crazy. Think about units of zombie dragons that arrive from the battlefield and so on, and immediately move, then shoot, and then charge. So quite an impressive way. This it's a model that it's really quite amazing because it can combine perfectly with all the other models in your FleshEater army, and at the same time also here, so you can choose which one side you want to improve. Quite really amazing. In such a way, I suggest you eventually to play with 2 of these because it can be really quite game changing. And then had the Abhorrant Ghoul King. Here we have mod that sincerely I can't understand completely. It's by itself technically. So it has 6 wound, save 4 plus, movement 6 inch. It has 5 attacks on free and on free, 1 rend and 2 of damages. It's a wizard that can cast 1 spell in your hero phase and by 1 spell in the enemy hero phase. As usual, it's an Abhorrant, so it has Royal Blood, so it can heal up to 1d3 wounds in your hero phase. Then we have Code of Honor that, remember, it's only about itself. So at the start of the combat phase, you can pick an enemy hero, specific hero, within 1 inch of this unit, so it has to be yet in close combat, and say that this unit will duel that enemy hero. If you do so, add 1 to the damage statistic of this unit melee weapons until the end of the phase, but it can only target that enemy hero, so it can only go against it, and it gain 3 damage. Okay, then you have the spell that it's unnatural speed, that is a spell that has casting value of 6. If successfully cast this unit, can immediately attempt a charge, and you can roll 3d6 for the charge roll. If the charge is successfully, the strike first effect applied to this unit in the following combat phase. So this is the real value of this unit, the spell, because if you think about it, can charge in the hero phase using 3d6 and gaining the first strike effect. Okay, but sincerely, I don't know, it's not so great as amount of damages, or you go with this against the hero, but it's not so great to be saved and so on. It needs quite a lot of support eventually. So I don't completely understand this one. I prefer the other Abhorrant available. So okay, it can be useful in some way, but I can't see really the real use for this. They've had the Abhorrant Cardinal, that it's one new model that is going to be released, and it's amazing. I love such model. I suggest you to buy and collect it, even if you're not going to play with this, because it's an amazing one. It's an Abhorrant, remember, and it's a priest, the first priest for the FleshEater Courts. So we had that it has 5 wounds, so a bit less than the other Abhorrant. Save 4 plus, movement 6 inch. It has 3 attacks on 3, on 4 to wound, 1 rend and d3 damage. So it's not a model to send in close combat eventually. It's having Royal Blood as all the Abhorrant, so you can heal in your hero phase up to 1d3 wounds allocated to this unit. And now it has the prayer. Remember that you can use also the prayers specific about the FleshEater Courts eventually. This one is specific for such model. And also remember that there are the ways to have also other priests in your army eventually, both Courtier and Abhorrant. So it has Speak in Tongues. It's a prayer that has an answer value of 4 and a range of 18 inch. Is answered, pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the chanter until your next hero phase. Roll a dice each time that enemy unit receive a command. On a 4 plus, that command has no effect. So you have 50% to activate such prayer before to launch it, and then you have 50% to negate the command that the unit can receive. And it could be really quite intriguing because okay, it's not so sure, but at the same time you can having quite a lot of possibility that even if you are not able to prevent the casting of the command, anyway, it's a way to make the opponent not be sure that he can gain that command available. So it's really quite nice, I think, because it can be really quite intriguing, even if it's not so certain. It's nice. At the end, you have almost one possibility on 4 to be able to negate an effect, because you have 50% to launch this player, and each one has a 50% to be negated. So it's not bad at all at the end. And anyway, the mod is fantastic. They had the Marlow School Herald, and this is a model that we have yet seen, because we have seen this with the Dawnbringer campaign, the book 1, the Harbingers. This is the Herald of the FleshEater Courts, so it's amazing as model, and I like also the rules. So remember that it's a Courtier, non an Abhorrant, a Courtier. It has 5 wounds, save on 5 plus, movement 6 inch. It has a range of 2 inch, 5 attacks, hit on 3, wound on 3, rend 1 and 2 damage, so not bad also in close combat. And has 2 abilities that you have to take note. We have the first one that it's the melee one, the King's Entreaty. At the end of the charge phase, you can pick one enemy unit within 3 inch of this unit and say that this unit will offer it as an effective bone. If you do so, your opponent must choose whether the enemy unit accept or refuse the bone. If it is refused, the strike first effect applied to friendly FleshEater Courts unit within 3 inch of this unit until the end of the following combat phase. So it's a way to make your units attack first with only declining such idea. And if it's accepted, that enemy unit become infected. For the rest of the battle, remember, for the rest of the battle, roll 2d6 before an infected unit uses or receive a command. Attempt to cast a spell or chant a prayer. Make a roll before the action is carried out. If the roll is greater than that unit bravery characteristic, that unit cannot perform that action in that phase. Okay, it's more useful, less it's the bravery of the opponent. Eventually you can try even to sacrifice such model, even if I don't suggest it would be better to kill that model eventually, or that unit, so it can be really quite intriguing. This it's a way to say, okay, you want to be killed by first attacks FleshEater Courts, or you want to suffer that eventually you can't cast anything. So it can be really quite intriguing. And I had the rule that it's don't shoot the messenger. This unit is not visible to enemy unit while it is wholly within 6 inch of 5 or more other friendly FleshEater Courts model. Here it's really quite intriguing, because technically it should be even if you are quite close to the enemy. You only need to have the 5 models around. But I'm curious also about the combat eventually. It's a model that can be really quite intriguing. Eventually it could become invisible so that it can fight without being targeted. No, because it's visible, so the problem is about the line of sight, so about the shooting. Still, it's really quite nice if you think about, because you could eventually pay quite a lot of attention, gain noble deed points, heal, and so on, and use this as a sort of freeload model. Quite nice. And then have the Royal Decapitator, that it's another new model of the ones that are going to be released with the FleshEater Courts. This is a Courtier, and it has an amazing model. Sincerely, I quite love such model, really. It has 5 wound, save 5 plus, movement 6 inch. It has 3 attacks on 4 and on 3, 2 of rend and damage free. So it's not bad in close combat. Maybe not a lot of attacks, but you can improve them eventually. It is with 2 special rules, Exceptionalness and Entourage. In the combat phase, after this unit has fought for the first time in that phase, you can pick one friendly serve unit that has not yet fought in that phase, that is within 3 inch of an enemy unit, so it's in close combat, and is wholly within 9 inch of this unit. That unit can fight immediately. So it means that you can fight with this and then make another unit fight immediately. So quite intriguing about this, and it doesn't have to be the same. You have only to be wholly within with that serve unit from this. The other rule is off with their head. At the end of the combat phase, if any wound caused by this unit and man's axe, that is the only weapon that it has, in that phase were allocated to an enemy hero and that enemy hero is not being slain, roll a dice. On a 5+, that enemy hero is slain. It's a sort Mortian. So amazing, because it means that you only need to wound eventually the enemy, and then you can insta-kill it. Don't mind how big it is, how godness it is. So technically you could be even kill Nagash or eventually Archon or similar. So quite intriguing. Obviously it has to be able to survive such encounter, but it is an option eventually. So this is a model that sincerely I could think about, because I like the synergy, because if you're going to play with quite a bit amount of cells unit, or at least a unit of cells, remember that there will be the guard that could be useful about this. And so you can make that, you can have this model fight and the other unit fight right after. So it has quite a lot of potential. And I've had the Crypt Ghast Courtier. Sincerely, this it's a model that I suggest you not to think about, because if you had to choose between this and the Decapitator, bring the Decapitator, because it has 4 wound, save 5+, move 6 inch, it has 5 attacks, hit on 4, wound on 3, and 1 rend and D3 damages. So it has more attack than the Decapitator, but it has less rend and technically less damage, because it has variable damage and not fixed one. It has a rule that it's similar to the Decapitator, that it's March of the Peasantry. So in the combat phase, after this unit has fought for the first time in that phase, you can pick one friendly serf unit that has not yet fought in that phase within 3 inch of an enemy unit, and this wall within 9 inch of this unit. That unit can fight immediately. So okay, but the problem, real one, is that this model and the Decapitator, at least when it's released this Battetome, cost the same. So you have less wound, you have one rule less, you have, I think, worse option about the damages, and I don't really see a reason to take this instead of the Decapitator. At least if it will cost 20-30 points less, I can understand, but for the same you have I think less options, so I will not suggest it, other than maybe you have yet the model, you want to use this instead of the Decapitator, other than use the proxy. So it's the only reason, but now I think that there will be some changes, at least about the points of this Courtier and the Decapitator. I don't know which one will change, but something has to be modified, because otherwise this model is completely useless. And I've had the Varghulf Courtier, that it's a unit with a new model we released with this wave of the FleshEater Courts, new rules but old rule, and it's a mod that I really love. It has 8 wounds, save 4+, movement of 10 inch, it has 2 series of attack that with a range of 2 inch, it has the close that has 5 attacks, hit on 3, wound on 3, 1 rend and 2 damages, the fangs that are 1 attack, hit on 3 and wound on 2, rend 2 and 3 damages, so it's quite impressive by itself. But there are also the abilities. We have King's Champions. At the start of the combat phase, you can say that this unit will use this ability. If you do so, in that phase, you can add to the attack characteristic of this unit melee weapons, so it means that it can arrive to 10, because it has 5+2 and 1+2, but it can only target units that has a wound characteristic of 1 or 2 and does not have a mount, so light infantry, but it can kill them by itself. Moreover, if you think that there is the command trait that can amplify, so with the 6 it can make them explode, and if it has 6 numbered points, even better, because it make them freeze. So it's a really quite amazing one. Then it has bounding strides. When this unit make a move, it can pass across the enemy feature in the same manner as a model can fly, so nice. And then it has victory feast. So at the end of the combat phase, if any enemy model was slain by wounds caused by this unit attacks in that phase, you can heal up to D6 wounds allocated to this unit. In addition, at the end of the combat phase, the units can immediately retreat. This means that for example, in the opponent phase, so it's quite nice in that way, you can make the combat, then So if you kill something, retreat, and then charge again, using some bonuses or so on, or eventually go to another side. So really quite amazing, and it's a model that really I suggest you to think about, even as Jan in small amount of points or so on. It's really a good one to take note. Then we had the Crypt Infernal Courtier. This it's a model that has been quite renewed. It has 8 wounds, save for plus, movement of 10 inch. It has Fated Breath, now it has a range of 10 inch, 4 attacks, hit on 4, wound on 3, 2 of rand, and D3 damages. A bit of pity that it's so random. It has also melee that are range 2 inch, 5 attacks, hit on 4, wound on 3, 1 rand, and 2 damages. It can fly, obviously it's the flyer one, and then it has an ability that you have to remind. It is Mind Shattering Cacophony. If any enemy mod has slain by wound caused by this unit Fated Breath until the end of the phase, add 1 to damage characteristic of missile weapon by friendly crypt flyers units while there are wholly within 9 inch of this unit. The same crit flyers unit cannot benefit from this ability more than once per phase. So it means that simply if you have 2 Infernal Courtier, you can't pile on the damages. But this it's not bad because it's a way to make that first you kill with this one and the other ones gain even more damages available. So not bad at all. It's not so great to do damage because anyway it's 4 plus to hit, but it can make quite a lot of annoying eventually. So I think that it's a good model. And I've had the Crypt Hunter Courtier that has seen a restyle about the Ruse 2. So it has 6 wound, less than the Infernal one, save for plus, movement of 7 inch. It has 5 attack to hit for plus, wound of 3 plus, 2 of rend, and damage 3. It has Noble Blood, so it has less wounds, but it can regenerate 1d3 each time it's your hero phase, so not bad. It has Knightly Retinue, so in the combat phase, after this unit has fought for this first time in that phase, you can pick one friendly Crypt Horror unit that has not yet fought in that phase, is within 3 inch of an enemy unit that is wholly within 9 inch of this unit. That unit can fight immediately. So it's similar to what we've seen about the Decapitator and the Gas Courtier, but those were about the cells. This it's instead about the part related about the knight. And remember that the part about the horrors, the Crypt Horrors, the unit can be battle line in the Hollow Moon subfaction. So eventually you can play a sort of elite army about foot. So it's really quite nice in such a way. And I suggest you to keep in consideration about such unit because you can make quite a lot of crit effects. And remember that being a courtier, it has also access to the noble points, so it can make even better eventually. So quite nice. Then we had the Q-Guard that is one of the new unit released with the wave of the FleshEater Courts. Remember that they had the keyword cells, so they can make be coming back, and they are battle line in a Murgant army. They have a starting value of 10 models, so you can amplify them. They have a wound of 1, save 5 plus, movement of 6 inch, a range of the weapon that is 2 inch, 2 attacks, 3 hit, 3 to wound, 1 of rend and 1 damage. The champion has an additional attack. The standard is quite intriguing because it makes that if this unit faces a battle shock test, halve the number of models that can flee, rounding down. It has the musician that makes that you can add 1 to run rules and charge rules for this unit. And this it's intriguing associated with the delusion that are the same, so you can move even faster. We have Armory of Madness. If any wounds caused by these unit attacks are allocated to an enemy unit, that enemy unit cannot issue or receive commands until the end of the turn. This it's really quite intriguing because it forbids the battle shock test, but it also forbids other things that could be done after this unit has attack. So it can be really quite nice in some way to prevent, and really nice. Then we have the Royal Bodyguard. This unit has a ward of 5 plus, so quite resilient. In addition, add 1 to the wound roll for friendly FleshEater Courts heroes wholly within 3 inch of this unit. Think about combining this, for example, with the Decapitator, with other things, and so on. It makes that the ward for the heroes go to 5+, or even 4+ eventually. Think about Ushana eventually. So this it's a unit that can be really quite intriguing. It costs more than the crypt costs, but at the same time has more specialized role. So yeah, it's up to you decide which one you prefer. And it can be really quite amazing if you go in a Morgan army. I suggest eventually to think about including a couple of such units at least, because they can be really nice. And I've had the Markweb Knights. Here we have another of the new units released with this way of the FleshEater Courts, and I love such mod. They're really amazing. Remember that they are with the keyword Knights, so you can replenish them, and their battle line if you use the Abhorrant Gore Warden as general. This is something amazing. So they have 3 wounds, save of 4+, 12-inch of movement. They have 2 options about the attacks, because they have the lance that it's about the rider and the close and teeth of the mount. So we have both 2-inch of range. The lance is 2 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend and 1 damage. Instead, the close to teeth of the beast, it's 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend, but 2 damage. So technically are more lethal the mount than the riders as usual. Obviously they can fly. They lose about the mount. The champion has 1 more attack about its lance. Remember, only about the lance. Then there is the standard build that it's made so that if it made a charge move in the same turn, each mod in this unit count as 3 mods for the purpose of contesting objective. This can be really quite intriguing to keep away the control of the objective from the opponent. The musician make that add 1 to the run and charge rolls for this unit where it is included. And here it's quite intriguing with the association of the delusion, because it means that it can be charging even more. And remember that with the Gore Warden you can arrive from the ability of the Gore Warden, so that you can be deployed. If you can combine with the Archeragion, you make also another movement, and you can combine with the delusion, so have 2 more to charge. So a lot of things, so you can really arrive far and still charge the opponent, so it can be really quite intriguing. We have also Shrieking Charge. After the mod make a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit. That enemy unit cannot receive the Unleash Hell command in this phase. In addition, roll 1 dice for each mod in this unit that is within 1 inch of that enemy unit. For each 4+, that enemy unit suffer D3 mortal wounds. So this is a way to make the charge so that the opponent can't use the Unleash Hell and make also eventually the mortal wounds. So quite amazing. And you have to combine this with the other ability that is Predator's Pounce, that make that this unit can retreat and still charge later in the turn. So it means that you can make again the not forbidding the Unleash Hell and make other mortal wound charging. So it can be really quite intriguing. Moreover, because you have to remember that you have anyway the additional 1 to the charge. So it's always nice. And really, this it's a unit that can be really used in a lot of different ways and can be really quite satisfactory. This it's a unit that completely revolution what it's about, and really you can also improve with the subfaction and so on. And think about using, for example, this unit with the files, the Tarot Guest and other mods that are flying, so to have such type of army, it's really quite a pleasant to the eyes. Obviously you have to think about the combination and so on, but there are a lot of different options that can be really quite amazing and can be really also nice in close combat. So really something to have fun with. Then had the Crypt Flyers. These are modded as the keyword Knight, so they can be replenished. Think about this. And remember that these are battle line in a Blitterskin army. They have 4 wound each, 5+ save, movement of 12 inch. They have the Scream that has changed completely from before. So now they have range 10 inch, 4 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, 2 rend, and 1 damage. So it's quite similar to the Infernal one. And remember that if the Infernal kill, this can gain a bonus if they are fully within 9" of the Crypt Infernal. They have the Pristine Talon that has range 2", 4 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, 1 rend, and 1 damage. They can fly, obviously. The champion, it make that as an additional attack. The Death Scream make that add 1 to wound roll for attacks made with the Death Scream if the target unit has a bravery characteristic of 6 or less. So eventually decrease the bravery of the opponent. It's really quite useful for both eventually Etalogus and these ones, so that you can make really better wounding. So that would be wounding on 2. Nice. And I have Escort Courtier. When you pick this unit to move in the movement phase, you can pick one friendly FleshEater Courts hero that has a wound characteristic of 7 or less, that cannot fly, and that is wholly within 3 inches of this unit. If you do so, remove that hero from the battlefield. After this unit has finished moving, set up that hero wholly within 3 inches of this unit and more than 3 inches from all enemy units. But here you have to pay attention, because you can make an even more amplifying, because you can make that, for example, the hero is behind the Crypt Flyers, you make them fly, and then you make this deployed in front of the flyers, so you can gain quite a lot of space eventually. And moreover, remember that with the Delusion you can gain also a bonus to charge, so eventually that hero can still charge and be able to reach the enemy even faster and better. So this unit, it's really quite nice. I have yet to think about how to play such ones, but I think that if you want to play with a sort of involving the think that you can summon them, it's better to have a unit of 6 models. But if you want really to use completely the Scream, maybe they should be better in using 3 models each unit. So you have to decide which one is better, and it's up to you to decide how you want to personalize and so on, because they can be really quite intriguing, and associated with other units that can fly, that can be really characteristic army, so quite nice. Then I had the Cryptolus, that is one of my favorite units of the FleshEater Courts. These are knights, so remember that you can replenish them. And about this, I suggest you eventually to think from the beginning to use units of 6 models for this unit, because it can be a nightmare for your opponent, because you can replenish them, and it's really amazing. Remember that they are battle line in Hollow Moon army, and as you can see, there are a lot of units that are related about the Hollow Moon. Then we can go to see about the profile. It has 4 wound each model, 5 plus save, movement 7 inch. The range of the weapon is 2 inch, 4 attacks, 4 to hit, 3 to wound, no rend, and 2 damage. But about rend we'll see a detail. The champion has a more attack. The Chosen of the King improved the rend characteristic of this unit melee weapon by 1, while it's only within 9 inch of a friendly Courtier or 18 inch of any friendly Abhorrant. Abhorrant, it's quite easy to be, and about the only 9 inch from a Courtier, I want to remind you that there is the Hunter Courtier that allow you to be able to fight right after him without any problems. So it can be really a good synergy, so pay attention about this. Eventually also there is the fact that you could be able to add the Feeding Frenzy being within a Courtier that has the noble deed points, so eventually it can be really a good amount of additional. Then we had Noble Blood. In your hero phase you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to the unit, and remember, heal, not make modest comeback, so pay attention about such a detail because it's important. So you can heal up a damage model, but you need the noble deed points or similar to make the modest comeback. Then we have Warrior Elite. If the modified wound roll for an attack made with a club, so the weapon of such unit is 6, that weapon has a damage characteristic of 3 instead of 2 for that attack. So they can be really a crazy thing of damage. They are resilient, and at the same time they can be really crazy in making damages. I love such unit. They are really nice. It's a completely different way from the Flyers, but this can be a sort of elite troop that go and break the opponent. I love. And then had the Crypt Gold, the base of the battle lines about the FleshEater Court, the classical one. Remember that they are safe keywords, so they can be replenished quite easily. And now we go to see the profile and make some really interesting consideration. We have 1 wound model, 6 plus save, move of 6 inch. They have a range of 1 inch, attacks 2 for model, 4+ to hit, 4+ to wound, and 1 damage. About the champion has 1 more attack, and here we see the abilities that are the main focus. We have Boundless Ferocity. If the modified roll for an attack made by this unit is 6, the attack automatically wound the target, doesn't make the wound roll. If this unit has 20 or more model, a modified hit rolls of 5 or 6 automatically wound the target, and this unit starts with 20 models. So it means that with a simple upgrade you can make them 40, and so it's really quite easy to make these always or almost always having such option available, also because it's easy to replenish them. And I have Royal Approval. Improve the rend characteristic of this unit melee weapon by 1 while this is wholly within 9 inch of any friendly Courtier or 18 inch of any friendly Abhorrant. So this is similar to what we've seen about the Cryptor, but it's even better, because remember that they wound on 6 automatically. So these are quite crazy, because a Courtier is also needed to replenish them with the 20 inch and so on, but it should be wholly within 9 inch here, but also about the Feeding Frenzy. So it means that you can improve the attacks, about the rend, about the option about wound. So it's really close, better to have this model of an Abhorrant or better Courtier close about this and so on. So quite amazing one. About this and the Crypt Guard, it's up to decide, because here you have something that have a part about having more attacks in some way, because they can make also the automatically wound, so it's better in this way. They have more models also, so it's easy to have a massive amount of attacks compared to the guard. The guard are more protection, so here you have something that you can be chosen quite attentively, and these are something that you can create waves. Think about having 40 units each one of these that are on the battlefield and move toward the opponent. They can really submerge the opponent and make a lot of damages, so quite nice. Obviously they are always correlated about having the Abhorrant or the Courtier close to them, so that really here it's really about having synergy of the unit, and these are the perfect show of it. Then we had the Royal Beast Flyers. This is a unit that comes directly from Warcry, and it's not bad. The good thing is that it has the keyword Serfs, so it can be replenished eventually, and it's not bad in that way. They had 10 models. This is saved only because they had the keyword Serfs, otherwise not so much. Generally, they have 1 wound each, save 5+, the movement of 6. They had a different profile because they had different models that you had to refer about. In fact, we had the Royal Flamemaster that is 1 in every 10 models. In this unit must be a Royal Flamemaster. That mod has a wound characteristic of 3 and is armed with the anti-polearm instead. And here, remember that this Royal Flamemaster can use command to their own unit. It's good. It's technically the champion. You have Awful Hounds. 2 in every 10 models in this unit must be the Awful Hounds that has wound characteristic of 2 and are armed with the Fearful Fangs, and so it's with the different profile. They had the rule Hunter Instinct. Enemy monster within 3 inch of this unit cannot carry out monstrous rampages. In addition, reduce damage characteristic weapons used by enemy monster by 1 while they are within 3 inch of any friendly unit with this ability to a minimum of 1. So it's not bad, because if you think it's a way to make really hunters the monsters, so not bad. They are good in that way. And they had the Awful Hounds that, while this unit includes the Awful Hounds, add 2 more inch to the move characteristic of this unit if it is within 18 inch of any enemy monsters that have any wound allocated to them. So remember that to apply this, you have to have wound the monster and be within 18 inch of it. These are not bad, sincerely. I would have thought quite worse, but these make me consider such unit only because they have the keyword Serf. Otherwise, it would be a bit trouble to use. But if you think about with 10 models, we have that technically 7 are normal. We have 2 models that has 2 wound each and 1 that has 3. So we can gain more than wounds. So it can be useful anyway. They are hunters, and it's up to you to decide if it's worth, because sincerely they are not bad, but they are not so good. So they can be really nice. At least to have 1 unit of such in your army could be a little change. So to try. About the Royal Targus, it's almost the same that we've seen for the Abhorrant Cold King on Royal Targus, without obviously the Abhorrant Cold King, so it doesn't have the attacks of the Abhorrent Cold King, it doesn't have the Royal Blood, and it doesn't have the option about being a mage. So it's still having 14 instead of the 16 wounds. For plus saving, the Death Shriek is the same, the move attacks and the Talos are the same, so it's really quite intriguing. Obviously it has fly also as for the Royal Tarogest, and it has infested, so again, if it's killed, it can make D3 mortal wounds to the enemy units within 3 inches of it. So it's really quite amazing mod. I love such one. And I've had the Royal Zombie Dragon. Here it's a mod that it's almost the same that we've seen for the Abhorrant Gold King on Zombie Dragon. It has less wounds because it doesn't have the Abhorrant Gold King. It has 14 wounds, save for plus. The Restoration Breath is the same. The melee weapons are the same, other than it's missing the Abhorrant Gold King part. It has Fly, and it has Terror. So again, enemy unit cannot see Inspiring Presence while they are within 3 inches of this model. So nice, because it means that you can make damages and still make the way that they can make the Battle Shock to full size. So nice. Then you have Lotham the Chance. Instead of setting up this unit on the battlefield, you can place this on one side and say that it's in reserve. And you can, if you do so, at the end of your movement phase, set up this unit on the battlefield more than an inch from all enemy units. About this, I want to remember you so that you can put more than an inch, still having the breath working. And remember that there is the delusion that add 1 to the charge eventually. So it's even possible that you arrive, breath, and still make a charge eventually. It's maybe not so easy, but it's an option. So it's still quite intriguing. This, it's a model that it's quite worth. Then we had the Endless Spells. Here we had the same that we see in the previous Battetome, but with different effects. So we had again the Cador's Barricade, the Chalice of Shorn, and the Cosmate Stampede. We start with the Cador's Barricade. Here it's having a casting value of 5 and a range of 24 inch. It successfully casts set up this and spell wholly within the range and visible to the caster, and more than 1 inch from all models Terran Future or other end spells and invocation. Only FleshEater Courts wizard can attempt to summon this end spell, obviously. Terran Future, after this setup, this end spell is treated as a Terran Future that has the Grasping Hand Scenery rule, except that it can be dispelled as it were an end spell. Okay. Grasping Hand, it makes that enemy units within 3 inch of this Terran Future cannot run or retreat. In addition, if any enemy model start a move within 3 inch of this Terran Future, half the distance of that model can move when it makes that move. So it's really quite intriguing about, even to make the opponent crazy. And even if you think about retreating, because it means that you can block the enemy where it is, not bad. Then we had the Chalice of Ushoran, that is a spell with a casting value of 6, a range of 24 inch. Is successfully cast, set up this and the spell wholly within range and visible to the caster, and more than 1 inch from all enemy models, other than the spells and invocation. Only FleshEater Courts wizard can attempt to summon this and the spell, obviously. Predatory, this and the spell is a predatory and the spell that can move up to 8 inch and can fly. And the ability is so still. Keep track of the number of models that are slain within 12 inch of this and the spell each turn. At the end of each turn, roll a dice for each mod that was slain within 12 inch of this and the spell during that turn. Remember that it counts all models, so both yours and your opponent. For each 4 plus, the commanding player can heal 1 wound allocated to 1 FleshEater Courts models within 12 inch of this and the spell, or return 1 model slain to FleshEater Courts unit that has a wound characteristic of 1 that is wholly within 12 inch of this and the spell. So it means that this can allow you to heal the monsters or to make come back the models that are the first one. So the Crypt Guard and the Crypt Ghoul, technically, because they are the only one. So it can be really quite nice eventually, and it's something that you could think about, because you can eventually summon it to replenish the models like the Werewolf, or like the Tarragest, the Dragon Zombie, or the Abhorrant King on it, or eventually also Shoran. So it's really quite amazing one. But about replenish the modes, it can be done only for the cells, so pay attention about such. And I've had the Calfsmere Stampede that has a casting value of 7 and range of 3d6, so pay attention about such detail. Is successfully cast, set up this and the spell wholly within range and visible to the caster, and more than 1 inch from all modes other than the spells and invocation. Obviously, only FleshEater Courts Wither can attempt to summon this and the spell. Predatory. This and the spell is a predatory and the spell that can move up to 12 inch and can fly, and it has the rule trampled underfoot. After this and the spell has moved, roll 6 dice for each unit that has any mod it pass across. For each roll that is greater than the unit wound characteristic, that unit suffer 1 mortal wound. For each 6, that units instead suffer 1 mortal wound regardless of its wound characteristic. So, not bad. It's literally a charge of forces and really quite nice. I don't say that it's the best, but sincerely it's something that you can consider, because anyway it's a mod that remains on the battlefield till it's unspelled. So I think that it's really quite intriguing. About the units, we had the Channel Front, that it's a mod that I love. Eventually I made some videos about. If you're interested, you can find them. And really, here it's a mod that I appreciate quite a lot because it's amazing. And it's a faction terrain that it's for free, so remember that it's better to add to your army because it can be really quite a good addition. Moreover, there is a grand strategy related to it. You have the faction terrain that only FleshEater Courts armies can include this faction terrain feature, obviously. Set up after territories are determined. You can set up this faction terrain wholly within your territory and more than 3 inch from all objectives. And add a terrain feature. If both players can set up faction terrain features at the same time, they must roll off and the winner chooses who set up their faction terrain feature first. It's defensible, so this terrain feature is defensible terrain feature that can be garrisoned by one FleshEater Courts hero that has wound characteristic up to 7. About this, I want to remind you so that use eventually, if you make the grand strategy about being on this one as model, it's better to use maybe an Abhorrant because it has the command trait that make it invisible, so it's much better to use and not be targeted eventually. Ghoulish Landmark. While an enemy unit is within 12 inch of this terrain feature, it cannot be affected by any abilities that allow units to ignore Battleshock test. This can be really quite intriguing in a sort of defensive way, and if you think about based on the territory, you could eventually think about putting this in almost the middle of the battlefield. So you can create a null zone that can help you quite a lot. Obviously, it's a sort of aggressive strategy, so pay attention eventually about this, because eventually, in this case, better not to use the grand strategy that you have to control this without any enemy around, because it's not so easy to do. Then have the ruler of all the survey. At the start of your hero phase, add the 3 noble points to any friendly FleshEater Courts hero that is garrisoning this terrain feature. About this, if you think about really, it's better to use in almost the middle of the battlefield, because you can combine the Ghoulish Landmark and this one so that you can replenish the noble points about the mod that it's garrison it. And then you can use these noble points, for example, to heal or to make other things. If you think about with healing, you are in the middle of the battlefield and you have a range of 10 inch within, not fully within, to heal the other units of yours. So it can be really quite intriguing. Moreover, you can, for example, thinking about having this to approach quite fast the amount of noble points. A way to make that you can be with the feeding frenzy quite fast. So it's really quite something to think about, because positioning this on the battlefield, it's really quite strategic way to decide how you want to bring up the battle. And I've had the points. I make some idea about such points because I want to remember you they can change quite fast. So it's not something that you have to think that they should be like this. They can change. Sincerely, I would have hoped that the Abhorrant Ghoul King on Royal Tarragest and on Royal Zombie Dragon would have cost a bit less, but they are still okay. The only real model that I had some problem to understand the price is the Crypt Ghoul Courtier. That is the same of the Royal Decapitator. So it's useless in that way. It's the only one that I really problem about. I'm quite glad about the points of the Cryptoro, and I think that I'll play quite a lot of them eventually. I think that I had to find out more models about, and really, they're really quite nice. I like a lot the Morgan Knights and so on. I think that all the mods they are balanced as price. So I think that you only need to decide which one you want to play with, because you can combine in a lot of different ways and so on. And based also to the type of army that you are going to create, they can be really quite awesome one. So also the spells they have points that sincerely are nice, and I think that are quite balanced. Maybe the Charlie's of Shoran 10 point less, but it's not something that to take a really hard, so you can really choose how you want to play with. Obviously, I don't consider Nagash because, in my opinion, it's a mod that should be on the battlefield only a really high amount of points. So it's really quite nice, sincerely. Also, the other things that we can see are really nice. You only have to choose really about the Kept Guard and the Kept Goal, because there is a little more points for the Kept Goals, but a double of the models. So could be a change in the way that you can approach. And eventually you can try about the priest. Remember that there is the cardinal, but you can also use the keyword, the artifact about making the courtier like this, or make with the use of the suffection to make the Abhorrant the priest. So it could be really quite nice to change and create variety. And really, all the models, I think that they are not bad. Also, Usharon has a nice price, because sincerely, it's a good way to see it like an alternative of a Royal Zombie Dragon or a Royal Tarragest. So, and the bonus that they give are quite amazing. So, sincerely, there are really a lot of things that you can gain a lot. The only thing that you need is to have fun creating the roosters and deploy the armies, because you can make a flying completing army, elite one, full of mass one, because you can create a sort of completely kept goals one that have really sent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of models that are on the battlefield. So it's really nice, because if you think that a 40 units models it's 320 points, it means that you can really create hundreds and hundreds of models on the battlefield. So nice. And really, the courtier are, other than the clipped gold courtier, are amazing. So it's up to you decide, and you can really personalize a lot, from beast attack, alpha attack, from the roundabout attack to keep the positioning and so on. So nice. The only thing that remains is your fantasy about how you want to deploy. So from that mode, it's everything. I invite you to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell so to receive notification about new video, to comment under here about this video, or if you want to suggest me new videos. So I hope to see you again to the next time.